Hare Krishna. It's June 24th, 2022. We're studying Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 2, entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized, Text 23. Text 23 of Chapter 2. Okay. Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, Text 23. Members of the community, locally, continentally, and internationally online, and here with me in my place, Bhakti Payal from Prague. Na enam chindanti shastrani na enam dahati pavaka na cha enam kledayanti apa na shoshayati maruta. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati maruta. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chaidam kledayantyapo na shoshayati maruta. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati maruta. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati maruta.
Nainam chindanti shastrani
Nainam dahati pavaka
na chainam
kledayantyapo na shoshayati maruta.
Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha nashanam kledayantyapo nashoshayati marutaha.
Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati marutaha.
Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na jainam kledayantyapho,
na chainam kledayantyapo,
na shoshayati maruta.
na shoshayati maruta. Na, never, enam, unto this soul, Chindanti, can cut into pieces, Shastrani, all weapons, Na, never, enam, unto this soul, Dahati, burns, Pavaka, fire, Na, never, Cha, also, enam, unto this soul, Kledayanti, moistens, Apa, water, Na, never, Shoshayati, dries, Maruta, wind. Translation. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All kinds of weapons, swords, flames, rains, tornadoes, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons, but formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Firearms were counteracted by water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science, nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces, nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the original soul. The Mayavadi, however, cannot describe how the individual soul evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered by illusory energy. Because they are atomic individual souls, sanat, eternally, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of the fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So, even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Darati Svapadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Garange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpati Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Yevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dati Pavaka, Nachainam Thediyat Yapo, Nashashayati Maruta. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Krishna. So the purport in the last line, Prabhupada writes, Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. So this verse, and there's like a series of 20 verses here, chapter 2, text 11 to 30, where this is knowledge. This is the foundation of real knowledge. We're distinguishing knowledge from, let's say, from factoids or information. But we use that term, right? Transcendental transformation knowledge. So Arjuna is receiving it, and then his consciousness is transformed to liberation from the conditioned illusion that I am this body, or more subtly, that I am this material ego. So this is real knowledge. And so it cannot be overstated how important this essential knowledge is. And to understand it intellectually, that's nice. That's nice. And then to realize that I'm not that body. I'm an atomic unit of sentience that animates the body. So it's like, oh, okay. No, it's not just like, oh, okay. Then we're relieved. Then we're relieved of all the distress, right? Because bayam dvitiya binivesha tasya, the root cause of all anxiety and insecurity, the root cause of all envy, the root cause of all jealousy, the root cause of all fear and material resentments. So we're all struggling with these things. So like this should be like, pay attention. Like, let's pay attention. The root cause is misidentification of the eternal spiritual self with the temporary material body. So like, if we get this, that's why Krishna's, he's giving a big chunk of, not just he's giving a big chunk, but this is the foundation of everything. This is the foundation. This is the ABCs of spiritual life. To realize that we're spiritual, we're not material. We're spiritual, we're not material. And then we're relieved from anxiety. We're relieved from anxiety, because like if we actually get, oh, actually, I can't be cut to pieces by any weapon. I can't be burned by fire. In the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, there's the pastime of the very exalted, deep devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. So he was a boy. His father got so angry with him because basically his father was a very successful materialist. We can think of, how successful we are, or people are. Like he actually controlled the entire universe. He was a successful materialist. There's only one thing he couldn't control, was his son. That's the one thing he couldn't control, was his son. And like, so he asked his son, oh, so what's the most enlivening thing? What's the best thing you learned in school today? And Prahlad is, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyamatma Nivedanam Iti Pushpar Pita Vishnu Bhaktischan Navalakshana Kriyata Bhagavat Yada Tabmanye Ditamutamam. The best thing I learned is that the most wonderful activities are to hear about Krishna, to chant about Krishna. Krishna Matirna Parato Svatova. Like I said, Hiranyakashipu, his whole agenda was to deny and to kill Vishnu, like that, because Vishnu killed his brother, Vishnu in the form of Varaha. So he was like, no, you're where'd you get this? It must be some of them devotee Vaishnavas snuck into the kindergarten. we need to do something about this. We need to do something about this. So he told the teachers, make sure no Vaishnavas get into the nursery school there. Okay. So then Prahlad hears from his teachers about kind of like Machiavellian sort of like politics and manipulations and things like that. And he comes back to his father, and and his father said, "Okay, so now what really excites you about what we learned is what we learned from your teachers?" So, of course, he didn't specify which teachers. Because actually, when Prahlad had the teachers who were representatives of Shukracharya and Hiranyakashipu, but when Prahlad was in the womb of his mother, Kayadu, and Narada Muni instructed the mother, and Prahlad Maharaj observed everything. So Prahlad Maharaj said, oh my real teacher, Narada Muni. So yeah, I believe that. Nasadamanye Sugavarya Dehina Sada Sabud Vigna Dhyam Asakraha. Yes, Adantago Bir Shtam to Mishram, like that. So I learned that all these material activities, like chewing the chewed, like if you have gum, you keep chewing it, you put it on the ground, someone else chews. It's like, it's disgusting. So the whole material life's like that. And a true sadhu understands that, like, let's go for that which is eternal. Let's go for that which is eternal. For that fulfillment, for that happiness, that let's not just be the blind following the blind, because that's it. Because most everyone, whatever, like 99% of the human population, it's all about reinforcing the illusion that we're this body, okay, in the name of friendship. Okay, but that's like just increasing our torment. It's increasing our torment. So it takes like courage to like, I'm actually going to practice Bhagavad Gita. I actually want to practice this verse. Okay, how can I realize that I can't be cut into pieces? So then, after Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad's father, heard that, then he got angry at the teachers. He goes, you're traitors. You're teaching my son all this devotional stuff, all this devotion to worship Vishnu and like that. And then the teachers, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. No, we're teaching him about like prophets and political manipulation and how like that. And so then Hiranyakashipu, he was convinced. He could see this. And then he got then he got furious at Prahlad, and he attempted to kill him in different ways, including weapons and fire, and just like horrendous way, boiling oil, trampled by elephants and thrown off a cliff. So Prahlad was protected by Krishna, and it's described that Prahlad is very exalted consciousness, very pure consciousness. Just complete love for it. So he got that, as Prabhupada would quote Socrates, you can kill me if you can catch me, but you can't catch me. So you can catch the body. You're not going to catch the soul. So if we get that, then we're free from anxiety. We're free from anxiety, and then that we're not the body. We're not the body. When we get that, we're free from anxiety. Okay. And more subtly, and we're not the material mind. Subtle matter. Bumira pona lovayu kamana buddha evacha ahankara itiame bina prakritir astata. So there's gross material energy, and then subtle material energy is the mind, the intelligence, and what's called the false ego. So in this path, in this bhakti path, we're not trying to get rid of ego altogether. Ego means a sense of who I am. And I am someone. I'm a spirit soul. I'm a servant of God. We want to cultivate that ego. See, that's why Prabhupada says Arjuna became liberated. He became liberated from the illusion that I'm this body. But he never became one with Krishna. So we're not matter. Okay. Oh, I'm not matter. That means I'm the all-pervasive spirit. I'm a spirit soul. And the servant, these are important distinctions. I'm not matter, I'm actually God. And then Prabhupada goes through it here. Now, first of all, just the fact that we've become so foolishly illusioned in so many ways. And how did the omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent Godhead become an illusion? I'm thinking of this body and can't even remember what happened yesterday. It's like, come on. So we are spirits. We're servants of the Supreme Spirit, so we're servants of Krishna. Right? So that these are important distinctions. We're not the Supreme Spirit. So once we decide, since time immemorial, I don't want Krishna to be the center. I want to be the center. I'll do my God project. I want to be the center. Okay. I want to be the most important entity in creation. Me. Okay. So then we get covered. The pure consciousness gets covered by false ego, ahankara, false conception of I. Okay. A false conception of I. Okay. And then, so then through that false ego, then Krishna, through material energy, gives us a material mind, intellect, and body to try to be the center. And we can do a whole analysis, all of the, to use Sakvatov terminology, all of the survival strategies, the looking good stuff. However, whatever are looking good, I'm the most attractive, I'm the most intelligent. I got the greatest victim stories. All of the survival strategies, all the grungy payoffs, it all starts from that false ego and our attempts, more and more twisted attempts to be like, I'll be the center, I'll be the most important, I'll be the most humble, I'll be the most spiritual, I'll be, however, whatever, look, the richest, I'm the most, whatever, I'll be number one instead of Krishna and all the masks and the beach balls and the grungy stuff. They all start from that false ego through this body. Look what this body did. And this and that. Okay. And then that's mental suffering, physical suffering, because we're misidentifying with the body. So this is the foundations. This is the foundations of true spiritual life. Okay. And without this, then whatever we're doing, to whatever extent we're retaining. Thank you, Jim. The very best victims. Yeah, well, to whatever extent we're retaining the illusion that I am this body, or I am this mind, I'm this David Wolf character, the material intelligence, then I will experience the jealousy, the envy, because like in case we haven't noticed, there's someone better than us. Just, have you checked Instagram recently? Yes, right. In like that, and there's someone. Yes. So right, like that's some reactions. Right. Yeah. Like that, and then okay. So then so we get on not this body, spirit, soul. Okay, and then and so what and then what's okay? What should I do? What should I do? And so what the spirit soul in self-realization does, the activity is that's called bhakti. That's called devotional service. And so the beautiful aspect here is, to the extent that we engage, including in this body, ihayasya harer karmanam manasagira nikhil svapyavasta sujivan muktasa uchite. We don't need to wait till after the death of this body and then we go to heaven. No, in this body, anasaktasya vishayan yatam upiyunjata nibandha krishna sambhade yuktam bhairanam uchite. We get to consciously, enthusiastically use this body, this mind, this intelligence in devotional service. And the more we do that, the more we realize I'm not the body, and that's a joy. At least it's a relief from misery as we develop more and more actual heartfelt enthusiasm to serve Krishna through his pure devotee Srila Prabhupada. Then we get the positive joy. But even apart from positive joy, such a relief to actually have realized knowledge. Oh, not this way. Today, twice every moon cycle, there's what's called Ekadashi. So fast for Ekadashi. So the part of me that identifies that I am this belly. Fast. At the same time, since at the same time, since I've done these fasts hundreds of times, and then I'm actually quite joyful about it. I know it's going to be austere because I'm attached to the conception that if the tongue and belly are satisfied, that means I'm happy. But I know that this, it's going to be a day, and when I wake up tomorrow, that I'll have increased realization that I'm not this body, that I am the spirit soul, and that the spirit soul doesn't need bodily pleasures to be happy. And with bodily pleasures, there's bodily pains. And so that's liberation. That's the liberation that Arjuna is experiencing by hearing Krishna. So, and so this is a process, as Prahlad Maharaj says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padaseka. So we hear Krishna describe that, yes, we hear Krishna describe Avi Sani Tutavina Yena Sarvam Idam Tata. Krishna describes to Arjuna, know that which pervades the body, the irreducible quanta of consciousness that pervades the body, can never be destroyed. No one can destroy the imperishable soul. So this is truth, and it's spoken by Krishna. So whatever it's truth. Each verse of Bhagavad Gita, including the one we're chanting today, it reveals truth, and it's non-different from the truth it reveals. That's why it's transformational, whatever we're absorbing or not, it's transformational. The more we expose ourselves to, the more we give ourselves to these vibrations and the process described in the vibrations, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a Vedic verse. It's a Vedic verse that reveals truth. It's an especially recommended Vedic verse. It reveals truth, and to chant that verse is a cornerstone of the process of bhakti. Krishna says, Antavante me deha nichishokta suririna anasino prameyasya kashtadyudyasya bharati. He says, only the material body of the imperishable, indestructible, and eternal soul is subject to destruction. Therefore, do your duty. In Arjuna's case, his duty was to pick up his bow and fight. So we give ourselves to this vibration. We apply our intelligence, and we become purified. Purified means we realize who we are as that spirit soul that Krishna read towards the beginning of this series of 20 verses, number 2, which is text 12 of chapter 2. He describes like, we're not going to die. We're timeless beings. This eternal doesn't mean a really, 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 really long time. Eternal means completely outside of time. Just like if we're dreaming, we're dreaming, we're this character in the dream. Okay, and we're completely absorbed in it, right? We're completely absorbed. I am that flying in the sky and I'm enjoying in the palace. I'm chased by a tiger or a monster, completely absorbed in it. Okay, and then maybe within the dream, there's a particular sense of time and how long things take. Right? But that's all. But then, then someone with objective vision can say, no, there's no tiger, there's no palace. You're just lying horizontal on the bed. And a real friend, it's just, well, help me enjoy in the battle. No, a real friend is, come on, wake up to your real life. And that real life, it's completely outside the whole paradigm of, of the time concept in the dream. It's the real life in waking up. It's like a long time in the dream. No, it's just completely outside. So we, the spirit souls, exist outside that. And but the Bhagavad Gita, these morning programs that Prabhupada blissfully gave us, mercifully gave us these morning programs, but just to help us to wake up. So Krishna says, "Natvevaham jatunasam natvam name janadipa nachevana bhavishyama sarvevayama tapra." Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings on the battlefield, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So again, if we get that, then just like there's no more material depression and grungy stuff. And we get the fear, the anxiety of spirit soul. And to get that of spirit soul, that's nice. But then what's the activity? What's the activity of spirit soul and self-realization? Because if we don't get what's the activity, we're going to do something. It's described in the next chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. The nature of the soul is to be active. When we become realized, just sleep all day. Now, become realized, and we're active. Right? Then we want to minimize eating and sleeping, because then real speaking begins. Yeah, it's good. So like if someone's accustomed to speak just kind of nonsense that doesn't support self-realization, better to do Maunavrat, like a vow of silence. But when we realize about bhakti, devotional service, then real speaking begins, real activity begins. And then we want to use every ounce of our energy to serve Krishna. And the more we do that, the more we realize we're not the body, and this is an upward cycle of joy. This is an upward cycle of joy. So then we say, okay, so what? So, all right, there's that part of the verse, but then in the purport, like Prabhupada's talking about these weapons, fire weapons, and water weapons, talks about modern scientists. So how's that related to anything? So for me, it's very related. Because it's related in so many ways. Just something that's relevant for me is that like we get this, for me, it's about like, because this is the most sublime process that I've found for self-realization, a philosophy that makes sense. It's right, and so to trust the process. So to trust the process, and again, most all of the individuals and institutions in the world, for the most part, they're like militantly opposed to a process where we realize we're not the body. It's all about, let's be like lemmings. I don't know if the lemmings example is so valid, but it's because I heard the whole thing about lemmings going off the cliff. Disney actually concocted it in the 1950s, whatever. But the idea is, yeah, right. So actually, Prahlad Maharaj says, "Andaya Tandya Paniya Mani." So it's like the blind following the blind and falling into a ditch. Okay, it's just like, oh, she seems to know what she's doing with her life. What? Look what kind of car she's driving. Oh, he seems to know what he's doing. He has a PhD. Oh, okay, all right. But then, really being in. But Prabhupada said he wants all his followers to be independently thoughtful. Independently thoughtful. Blind following is discouraged. And so if we look, so this is a science of self-realization. This is not anti-science. Okay? This is a scientific process with a consistent hypothesis and an experiment that we can do to experience the truths that are given here. Right? And then as far as material science, let us that's like in our PhD dissertation, our attempt is to use rigorous modern methods of social science research to explore the effects of chanting Hare Krishna like that. So whatever we use, if we use a car, use a scientific method, use it in Krishna's service, then it's no longer material, then it's spiritual. Then it's spiritual. And so it's just like, so material science has given us so many things like that. At the same time, through those processes, Janma Mitu Jurabedi Dukkha Dosha and Darshana. That's in 13th chapter Bhagavad Gita, and the essential quality of a true saintly realized person is realizing the inherent misery, even the inherent evil to be stuck in a body that's stuck in the cycle of birth, death, old age, disease. So we can see. So material science has not and will never give us liberation from birth, death, old age, and disease. So, but they've cured lots of diseases. So now we can see as our lives go on, there's just less and less suffering from disease. Payal shaking her head. She disagrees with my assertion. No, it's sad. It's so much pain there, but it's just like it's so much verifies what Prabhupada's giving us. Right? Now there are brilliant scientists and cures for this and vaccines and this and the whole thing. But then actually, disease it's not even decreasing. Yeah, new material diseases. Kathleen's right. Yes, new material diseases. We see them. Yeah, right. So here, this path of bhakti given in Bhagavad Gita, and all the processes are given in Bhagavad Gita, and they all lead to bhakti, like different streams lead to the sea. So there is Hatha Yoga given in Varnashram, so many processes. And as long as we're not aligned with our nature, then we're going to create new diseases. We'll create new material miseries. An example, some of you have heard me give, like at the turn of the century, 1900, there was a big environmentalist movement, and the environmentalists at that time, 120 years ago, they were advocating for the swift development of this new invention called the horseless carriage, the automobile, and why the environmentalists wanted to develop it is to rid the world of air pollution once and for all. It's true. You can read in Scientific American, different journals from 1900, turn of the century, because the horses in the big cities were causing the horse manure, and it was causing some lung disease actually. So so ideas like if we don't have the one in front of the zeros, right? If we don't have realization of the ultimate purpose of life and who we are, that the solution is going to consistently be worse. The cure is going to be consistently worse than the disease. The solution will cause more complexity than the problems. So many examples of that. So yes, I know for me in my process, it's been important. If I look back over more than 40 years since I first started reading Prabhupada's books, to really look at my blind faith in the paradigm of scientism. Again, not science, right? This is a scientific, it's a science, but scientism is like the blind faith that this logical positivism can answer everything. Okay, so like I never thought about it till I came to Prabhupada's books, and then as my blind faith in that erodes, then I'm opening up more to like, oh wow, okay, what's giving my trust in what I'm getting from Krishna and Prabhupada. This is deepening, and this is security, this is joy. It's just like, because like I follow this just like if we follow a map. We're driving from here to New York or something. And we'll see like okay, well, there's been like 15 landmarks. It's called I-95. Something called Georgia. Yeah, Georgia's there. Okay, South Carolina. It's like, okay, so I haven't actually experienced like Virginia and Maryland yet, but like it's 15 out of 15. I'm trusting this map. So I can say, and this is, I feel very good about this as the life goes on. I'm trusting. I'm trusting. And this is intelligent trust. based on experience, because like, okay, here, like right here in this verse, this series of verses, here's a description of who I am, who I'm not, what's the purpose of life. I didn't get that from logical positivism like that. So I'm trusting this. An example we use often is like, okay, like Socrates said something to the effect of writing is the death of memory. So if we look in like anthropological studies, more than 5,000 years ago, there's no indication of writing. So one interpretation is that, well, people were just too stupid. They're just too stupid. Okay. All right. So there's an interpretation. We can take the same facts from the Vedic viewpoint, and you go like, well, people at that time, they were what's called shrutidar. They heard something once. And they remembered it for the rest of their life. So then as intelligence eroded, okay, then we need to do writing, gross stuff like keyboards and things like that. Okay, because our intelligence. Right? So then that gets me. And then a quote like from Socrates, writing is the death of memory. I know for a while I resisted using calculators. And now my mind is more dull. I used to be like quicker, like that. Okay. So it just the whole evolutionary paradigm. Okay. Because you take the same evidence, no indication of writing. Oh, that's because people were stupid. Okay. Oh, well, let's look at it from the Vedic perspective. Actually, it makes a lot more sense. Or if we look at, let's say, the whole field of linguistics. I'm not claiming I'm a linguistics scholar, but from what I've understood, is that Sanskrit is seen as the mother of all language. And Sanskrit, it's known, it's like the most like organized, sophisticated, structured, efficient, effective language. Much more organized than like modern English, French, German, Spanish, like that. Okay. So then according to modern historical understanding, you have cavemen grunting, couldn't even write. And then, boom, Sanskrit, right? It must have made, and as far as the explanation of that in linguistics, I haven't seen any. Okay. So in other words, it kind of supports the whole Vedic conception of Kali Yuga, degradation of consciousness, intelligence gets more and more covered. Again, examples I've used, like even if we speak looking apart from Sanskrit thousands of years ago, even if we look at, let's say if we look at the past 700 years, and let's say the English of Shakespeare, would we say, oh, from Shakespeare's time, the language has evolved so much to what they speak today in downtown Chicago. It's really become so much more. No. So again, the whole thing is, just look at the facts, apart from my conditioning about evolution and this and that, the facts support the Vedic paradigm, the degradation of Kali Yuga. So that encourages me to give myself with more trust to this process where I get to realize I'm not the body. This process of bhakti yoga, again, process of bhakti yoga. Okay, yeah, that's certainly the conclusion of all the passive Bhagavad Gita. And bhakti yoga is given to us by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Just recently I had contact with someone. He's into bhakti and chanting Gita. At the same time, like Srila Prabhupada says, current link isn't there for him. And so, and people come to him and he encourages them to chant, but he doesn't really know what to do. And then that's kind of sad. And then it's, whatever we do in chanting, that's nice. And Bhagavad Gita, like that. So Prabhupada as a current link means we know how to practice Bhagavad Gita through Srila Prabhupada. We can try some other way. I'm not saying there's no other way. Even recently, years ago, I read the book The Way of Perfection by Saint Teresa of Avila, and in recent weeks, I just completed another book by her, Interior Castle. Amazing book. She has these amazing Prahlad Maharaj, 6 Goswami realizations about intimate connection with God. Reading her, it's like reading the Goswamis and getting into the different anartas and pitfalls on the way. And she talks about the states of consciousness and stages of consciousness, and is more important. It's every she talks about the principle of niyamagraha, to follow rules and regulations at the same time to realize the point, not to miss the forest because of the trees, but not to just follow rigidly and blindly. And he talks about how at some stage we serve. It's all about we serve out of fear. That's fine, but then at some stage it's not out of I'm fearful because God will punish me in hell. Some stage we're actually serving out of love at that time. So it's completely Vedic and Bhagavad Gita. And okay, and then at the same time, so she's got these realizations that cannot be imitated. At the same time, okay, what as far as what do we actually do to cultivate the realization of spirit soul, not the body, to cultivate love of God in the most complete nuanced process I know comes through Srila Prabhupada in the present day. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dati pavaka, na chainam klidayatyapo, na shoshayati marutat. Text 23 of chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Hare Krishna. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your presence. I welcome any questions or comments or realizations at this time. Thank you, Kathleen. Hi.
Thank you so much for class this morning. So much joy for the science. I'm smiling and laughing because I feel like the science is repeated for me so much. I feel like the experiment of my God project of waking up this morning, I was feeling some anxiety. I had an event tonight, and I chose responsibly to postpone it due to several people messaging me and letting me know that they're sick.
Okay.
And so an in-person event didn't feel responsible for me due to my family members.
Yeah.
And so I was in a lot of anxiety before I came to this morning program.
Yeah.
And in my head about, what will people think? Like you said, the survival strategies.
Yeah.
And I'm postponing. What will everyone think? And I wasn't, even though I felt responsible.
This won't look good.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
And as soon as I knew it was very important, I committed to come last night, but as soon as I came here and to be chanting and to be doing kirtan, with Dr. Patrick, or with him leading, and just putting my consciousness on Krishna, how I say fast because it felt fast in that moment to just, okay, what am I serving here? Am I serving the stories of Pyle, or am I serving Krishna? And I mean, everything that you shared, thank you so much for doing this verse. Just a reminder, am I this body? Am I the soul? And the reminder that how do I cultivate, when you said that, it's like, okay, well, how do I cultivate that I'm the soul?
Yeah.
Because I forget that I'm the soul. And I've practiced many practices.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to be still learning with the science. I know I have a lot to learn and a lot to experiment, and I'm just feeling so much gratitude to be reminded what's important. And also thank you for sharing that, you know, I'm inspired by your fasting. So it inspired me. I knew it was Ekadashi, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll do like a half Ekadashi.
Yeah, something, right.
Yeah, it's not a committed, and I feel inspired to commit myself to also fast with liquid.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
not near job. Thanks for sharing. I hear your gratitude. I hear your gratitude. And yeah, I'm moved by your sharing. And I'm glad, you know, something I spoke has moved you. And here it's just like it's instantaneous in one moment. So you were in cancer, family members are sick, cancer. What will that mean? What will people think? Then you came in, and then the Prampra's leading kirtan. We're seeing it's like instantaneous. It wasn't even like after 5 minutes, like instantaneous. You felt the liberating, the transformational effects. How powerful the process is. How powerful the process is. It's kind of like amazing. And how come each day I forget how powerful the process is? Because I connect with the process, morning program, chant japa, sometimes 16 rounds at the same time. Sometimes just one mantra, right on back. Oh, and things that were, I'm so heavy. I got it. I got this. Because I got perspective. I got vision of purpose. Read Bhagavad Gita. And so we connect with the process. And Krishna says, Mam cha yogya vicharina. Bhakti yogena sevate. Sagunana samati yaitam. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He says we engage in devotional service. We're immediately transcendental to them all. And you're sharing experiential evidence of that. And then the challenge for us conditioned souls is to steadily stay in contact.
Consistent, not doing like waffle.
Yeah. Thank you, Paya. Thanks for sharing. Any other? Anandini.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. I'm glad the morning programs are happening again. I missed them. And this last thing you said about consistently connecting, I find that very challenging because I'm not the only one. But I was recently thinking about meditating on what does the golden age mean? And I was realizing that my understanding of the golden age was there will be peace and happiness and everyone becomes good-hearted and no war, no suffering. And recently I just thought maybe that's the golden age, that we can just switch, like we can just connect to the Maha Mantra or to God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and that's the mercy of this time, and not that the suffering goes away. I'm not sure whether this line of thinking is accurate, but I also see that maybe my biggest challenge is to accept the distress and the suffering in the material context, the material consciousness, and I know theoretically by accepting the suffering, it's going to change. But somehow for me, in my mind, accepting means I agree. And I don't agree. I don't agree that there's so much suffering. So I'm kind of turning in circles. And then, to come to the morning program or to hear or sing a kirtan, or that's good. But what about the material duties? What about making money? What about taking care of the car and the house and the neighbors? And yeah, maybe you can say a few words.
Thank you, Anandini. Thanks for sharing. Personally, philosophically, there's a lot there in what you expressed. Okay, if you thoughts, it's realizations. Okay, yeah, right. So golden age, the idea is that, okay, in this Kali Yuga, 432,000 years, we're 5,000 years into it. There's like a 10,000 year golden age, which is like an eddy in the current. The current's going one way, and the eddy goes the other way. Or we can imagine like an ever increasingly ferocious thunderstorm. But then there's also this ever expanding umbrella, okay, where there's shelter. So the umbrella, that's Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement. That's that. Okay, right. So the spirit soul in any yuga, in any age, is never deprived of free will. So we get to, I get to choose. We get to choose. We get to choose. I'm going to try to take shelter in the thunderstorm that's getting worse and worse. Or I'm going to take shelter in the umbrella. So the umbrella, so for me, the golden age is very clear, an expanding golden age. And so the question is, what role do I want to play in the expanding umbrella, in the expanding golden age, right? So if I think of my life, I don't want to think of my life. I think of my life if Prabhupada had not brought the golden age to the West. My life would just be so empty and like that. So I'm experiencing the golden age completely, and each day, like right now, I'm experiencing the golden age with about 15 of us, and so this is beautiful. Like if it weren't for Prabhupada bringing the golden age, about 57 years ago to the West, what would I be doing on this Friday morning? Like I'd have no joy. I might have just, I don't know if I'd be in this, I'm going to die a terrible death already. My life would be miserable. So I'm experiencing the golden age, and I get to choose each moment. Each moment I'm on the computer. Am I going to go into the Kali Yuga thunderstorm, or I could choose golden age? I could choose golden age. So golden age doesn't mean we become robots, and now it means we get to choose. Because Prabhupada, representing Lord Chaitanya, brought the golden age around the world. Well, okay, then I have accessible to choose the bliss of the golden age that I wouldn't have if Prabhupada didn't do it. So now what role do I want to play to make the golden age more available for others? Yeah, and that's and we mentioned Prahlad Maharaj, and so that his mood is paraduka duki, having compassion. Prahlad Maharaj says, like, I don't want the liberation until everyone is liberated. So how am I going to follow that spirit of Prahlad Maharaj, that spirit of Srila Prabhupada? And so you mentioned about neighbors, and what about fixing the car, right? So to the extent we have realization, we can integrate all of that into the golden age, And we can be chanting Bhagavad Gita verses, chanting Hare Krishna. We all have experience, right? Where it's like we're just going to the post office or this or that, because we're in a particular consciousness of Krishna's mercy. We attract some inspiring, super soul connected conversation at the supermarket, or talking with a neighbor, right? So depending on our consciousness, like nothing needs to be mundane, and like there, you're sharing Anandini with me, like that distinction, acceptance of the inherent suffering of material life doesn't mean resignation, doesn't mean no, we accept the inherent suffering of material life. Om pranam anha pranam idam puna mudachite punasya punamadaya punam eva vashishite, as a perfect and complete arrangement to help us and to help everyone, to inspire, not to force us, but to inspire us to let me live my real spiritual life in self-realization, in service to Krishna. And so, right, I accept the intrinsic suffering of material life, birth, death, old age, disease, cheating, limitations, miseries coming from eating, sleeping, mating, defending, miseries coming from
the mind, the body, the pandemic. Okay, yeah, I accept that. That's intrinsic to material nature. And yet, to accept doesn't mean I'm resigned to it. What can I do? No, there's a lot we can do. What can we do? We can realize this verse, that the soul is never, can't be cut to pieces, can't be burned by fire. So we cultivate knowledge. And with knowledge, like Prahlad Maharaj, he wasn't just like, oh, I have compassion for the suffering. That's some sentimental, I feel so bad for you, you're suffering. But it's like, no, he had knowledge. He had knowledge. And with that knowledge, he gets to act in a way, we get to act in a way to relieve people of their suffering once and for all, not in just some sentimental way, not just rearranging the chairs on the ship of the Titanic. With actual knowledge, realized knowledge of who we are as spiritual beings, we get to do para upakara, the highest welfare work, the highest social work described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, to give transformational, transcendental knowledge, whether it's through prasadam, whether it's through saying hello in a particular consciousness, good morning, whether it's through sharing in our own way. It's at the beginning of the Sattva Foundational Seminar. We're essentially giving these 20 verses of Bhagavad Gita, right? In our own terms, and giving knowledge through kirtan, japa, through simply the vibration of a devotional heart that we're infusing into the hearts of others, transformational, transcendental knowledge, and then they're relieved, then they're liberated from the suffering and the pain and the agony and the envy and the jealousy and the torment and the tragedy of misidentifying the self with the body. So yeah, we accept it. That's part of the context of material life. So let me give people spiritual life. Let me do something about it. It's not just like a sentimental, I feel so bad. Thank you. And then Gajendra Prabhu writes, golden age is essentially golden opportunity for spiritual advance. The challenges of Kali Yuga, quarrel and hypocrisy are not necessarily non-existent, but part of understanding the opportunity and making the choice. Beautifully expressed. Thank you, Gajendra Prabhu. Yeah, it's never a robot, but like, yeah, we get to make choices. Thank you, Gajendra. Thank you, Anandini. Malini.
Hare Krishna. I have been thinking about what Anandini shared about the part of making money, paying the bill, fixing the car, and all those things. And it seems that maybe our tendency is to separate, or if I was spiritual, then I will not do those things. But those things are material, I need to do them, and they take me away from my spiritual life. And why do I, money is obvious, I need to make money. And so my sense is that that's the way we are trained in a conditional state, to think like that, unless we live in a society organized around God consciousness. And if a society is organized around God consciousness, and we are conditioned in that way, because it's a conditioning too, then the making money, the paying the bill, the fixing the car, it's not, there is no separation anymore.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like meditating on Sutta Goswami when he said all occupational engagements are made for ultimate liberation, and they are not made for material gain.
Yeah.
So it seems that our consciousness that it's about material gain, it's what chinks us to separate. But if our consciousness, let's say, will say that's what is my duty, to maintain this body. It's my occupational activities. That's what Krishna puts in my workbench. This is my prescribed duty that I offer to Krishna, as is described in chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. And all that, then it's not about making money or survival strategy. It's about, this is what is on my workbench for Krishna, to be part of this big machine that's called life, and that's called being part of the material cosmic manifestation, and have our place in it, like the ant. The ant, they work all day, and and they don't think like that. They just work all day because it's their psychophysical nature, and their prescribed duty is for the soldier ant to protect the ant hill, whatever it's called. And then you have the queen ant, and then you have the worker ant, and they do their prescribed duty. And what's missing for them, in fact, they are less conditioned than human beings. They are doing well with that part. And the part that's missing is a link with Krishna. To see, like, I'm a warrior ant for Krishna, or I'm a worker ant for Krishna, or I'm a queen ant for Krishna. But we can do that. And then that doesn't mean that we are not going to make money or fix the car or pay the bill, but all those are just prescribed duty, and we do them in the service to Krishna. And by doing them in service to Krishna, they are what Krishna wants us to do, and they are devotional service. And it's engaging with Krishna. So that's something I've been meditating on.
Thanks for sharing your meditations in response to what Anandini expressed. And thanks for that very much, Malini. Yes. And to the extent we realize that, then it's just like, yeah, I'm going to the supermarket. I'm going to get the vehicle fixed and serviced. So I can use it for Krishna. And then on the way, maybe I'll listen to Prabhupada, or I'll chant a bhajan. Maybe I'll say Hare Krishna to the service person. Maybe I'll have little prasadam sweets, and I'm getting this car. I'm getting them going to the doctor or the dentist, so this body's in good shape to serve Krishna. To the extent we realize that, then, as Sanjaya says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, this is a thrill at every moment. And then, there's a purport in the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada says, one who sees everything as, related to what you're saying, Malin, one who sees everything as Maya, rather than seeing everything as Krishna, it's actually an offender. That's illusion. Oh, this part, as you said, Malin, this is Maya. Well, it might be that I'm in Maya because I'm not seeing how to connect fixing the car with Krishna, so I'm in Maya. But if I'm realizing, okay, this car has a purpose, and there's so much opportunity for devotional service, even in the process. I get to be in the car and chant some devotional songs. Okay, then fixing the car becomes a joyful bhakti yoga experience. I see a few chats here, so I'm going to read some chats. Kathleen wrote, I'll read it aloud. Okay. Modern life involves so many more transactions done alone than when we lived on communities and tribes, where we focused on basics and spirit and shared so many duties and supported each other in the same way of life. And Jim Wood wrote, yeah, ants are amazing. And Kathleen wrote, so dedicating everything we do to Krishna. Thank you, Malini. Yeah, thanks for that, Malini. Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, all right. Yeah, so putting Krishna in the center. That's what it is, and that's real friendship. That's real society. Everything else is it's like following each other off that cliff. I thank you all for your enlivening association. Bhagavad Gita ki. Prabhupada ki.